What up, MVPs? Welcome back to another episode of the Raptors Den, presented to you by Faulty Logics. You're here with Dan, your host, and also my co-host, Peter.
What's up, MVPs? How's it going? Long time no talk. I know we had a little bit of an off time last week. Good to be back here with another week on the Raptors Den. I know Dan wants to do a quick shout out on the giveaway that we are still trying to promote here for you guys.
Yep, it's good progress coming along here. Again, the only things you need to do is make sure you subscribe to our channel, make sure your profile is public so we can see that you subscribed. Leave a comment in any of the Raptors Den episodes on YouTube, and yeah, that's it really.
That's pretty much it. And don't forget to tell your friends because we are looking for a set number of subscriptions before we can give away this giveaway.
Yeah, we need to hit 100 subs, guys.
We're getting closer and closer, guys. We're in crunch time now.
All right,
So a quick rundown on the agenda that we have on tap for you guys here today. So of course the biggest thing that happened in the NBA recently was the All-Star weekend that happened here this past week, and we're going to get into it a little bit, talk about surprises, MVPs, event winners, and everything of that nature. And the new format itself, if it was pros, cons behind it, if we like it, if we want to see it again or not. But then getting back into the actual NBA and gameplays, since we've had about 2 days of games that happened here this week. We could talk about the Raptors, the situation in Toronto, if there are actually contenders in the East. Well, not just in the East, in the whole league to actually see if we can win a title this season or not. Pros and cons, what we would have to do to get that done. As well as there was a little bit of a fight after All-Star game with Isaiah Thomas and the Mavericks organization. Some more Maverick news in the headlines there with Mark Cuban getting a substantial fine the last couple of days. We'll get into that, pros and cons behind his comments that were made in the public eye, as well as some injuries that happened since All-Star break to a couple key players and the ironies behind those injuries there. Totally, because there were a couple ironic situations that happened to a couple people that got injured in the last couple days. So just jumping into this jam-packed schedule that we have here, we can start off about the Friday night All-Star game, well, All-Star games is that happened on the Friday night. One of them being the celebrity game, as well as the Rising Stars game there for us as well. I know we didn't really watch too much of the celebrity game. I know it's mostly hype here for myself, just trying to get the people that aren't into NBA, their favorite players from whatever world they're liking, to come and watch an NBA game.
right.
There were a lot of big name people that came out this year. There was Bieber, of course, representing Canada. Andre DeGrasse representing Canada. We also had Quavo from Migos in there. A lot of actually random people. Win Butler from Arcade Fire, who was actually an MVP in Toronto 2 years ago. In 2016, he came back. We had one of the Property Brothers. Don't ask me which one. How did you like the celebrity game there for what you saw there, Dan?
Um, mostly just saw highlights of it, really. Most of the highlights came from Quavo. He got MVP.
Yes.
Funniest one I thought was when it wasn't funny. It was kind of savage. I laughed at how savage it was, but when he blocked Rachel Demita, which is
Yes.
the
The
one of the
2K girl.
yeah. So I thought that was like it's kind of funny because when I play rec ball, I actually play in a place that has co-ed as well too.
Hmm.
So whenever girls go up for shots and stuff like that, I don't generally block them. I just put my hand up.
Yep.
But I do see guys there that take it too seriously and they do block and steal the
From the
ball from
girls.
the girls. And I'm like, come on, let them play, you know? And that was the same exact thing that I was going through in my mind when I saw that.
I agree to an extent with that. The block itself was absolutely savage, totally unnecessary. Like, it was so funny. But I agree. Playing with co-ed, it is a little touchy of a subject. How hard you go against the opposite sex and things of that nature. If they're on the court, she's obviously played NCAA Division 1 basketball, so she is not a rec league. Like, she actually plays basketball. Um, yes, was it uncalled for? Of course. I would have blocked it. Not to the extent that Quavo blocked it, because like he put that into the fifth row. He could have just deflected it and just tried to keep it in bounds and go up the court. I liked it. I like to see the hustle out of Quavo there to win the MVP. He was actually going hard. The other two Migos people were in the front row there with Takeoff and Offset. It was a full-fledged Migos weekend, and it was really good. I thought Quavo actually had more ball skill than I actually thought gave him credit for. Another surprise to me as well was Andre DeGrasse, who had, I believe it was a game high of points.
Yeah.
But then again, all of his points were in transition, being the top 5 fastest man in the world. That's how else do you think he's going to score? But it was, he put the ball in the net. He had good speed on the court, which is hard to translate in a smaller field, in a basketball court opposed to 100 meters. But his skill was actually much better than what I expected as well.
Yeah. I was
Any other players?
surprised. I was surprised that Chris Brown in the game didn't play as well,
Mm,
because I know the game does play in the Drew League.
yep.
Chris Brown has been in All-Star game
Before.
appearances before, and he's not a bad baller either.
Nope.
Um, one of the reasons why is it could have came down to I don't know if you saw the incident
Nope.
where Chris Brown and the game are sitting on the bench, and you can see a video of Chris Brown passing a joint over to the game.
Oh my god.
The freaking All-Star game,
In
celebrity
the
All-Star.
Staples Center, like
Yeah,
inside the
they're
building.
on the bench, on the sidelines during the game.
Okay, I gotta YouTube that one. I did not see that. I did see Chris Brown end the game on the court, like on the sidelines. Did not see that exchange there. Definitely have to look into that. Hilarious. Actually, I want to give another shout out to the celebrity, a couple celebrities that were in the game that I did not expect to be in the game that had like, I don't want to say comebacks, but where were they been for the last couple years? Nate Robinson. Like,
Yeah.
where was he? I know he was playing overseas and things of that nature. He came out of nowhere. Did not know he was in the game. Pleasant surprise when I saw him. He still has his ups. He didn't get any jams in the game or anything, but he did show some jumping ability throughout the game. I don't know what his situation is with NBA teams.
Yeah.
Do you think a Nate Robinson return is plausible?
Well, we know that he's been trying to get back into the NBA.
Yeah.
Like even since last year when LeBron was looking for a playmaker.
Yep.
But I don't know, man. Maybe he's like going through what IT is kind of going through, where he's too short to play, and what goes against him now is his age as well too.
That and his attitude.
Mhm.
He's not really the most player-friendly guy in the locker room, I've heard. But then that was my next point. I know one thing is his age. He's not a young guy. You don't want to sell your future for
Right.
Nate Robinson. But he's not over 32, 33 years old. Like, no way.
And I'm pretty sure he's willing to take a minimum just to get
I'm
back
sure. I don't think that's even a question. Like, you
Like he would have
can't be-
taken minimum last year if LeBron wanted them.
You can't be negotiating contracts when you haven't played an NBA game in the last 2 years, and when you did, you were subpar of a player. Like, you can't be negotiating contracts. You get what you get. But I would not be surprised if someone throws him out a 10-day contract. I hope it's not the Raptors, putting that on the record, but like one of the teams that's on the 6th, 7th, 8th spot in their conference, looking for just a veteran player.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know. Moving on from the celebrity game, that was an overall good game. To the Rising Stars game, where I still have a pet peeve that none of our young Raptors were ever asked to go into that game. We would have had players on either end that could have played for US or the world.
Even after an injury.
Even after injuries didn't get the secondary look at either. Even after playing, we have the best bench squad in the league
NBA.
by point differential. And 4 of that bench squad are rookies or second-year players with Pascal. Portal's a rookie. Van Vliet is a rookie.
We have OG.
OG, who's also in the starting line, who's a rookie. Like, and 3 of those guys, Pascal, Portal, and OG, could have played on Team World. We had DeLon Wright that could have played for Team USA. Van Vliet could have played for Team USA. All 5 of those guys are very good young rising stars in the league. And I think the title is Rising Stars. How can you not have 4 out of the 5 best bench rotation in that game?
Right.
I think it was a terrible snub. But to the game itself, that's for another day. How did you feel about the Rising Star game? Pros, cons?
I pretty much only saw the last like 5 minutes or so of it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Rising Star game myself.
I think I had it playing in the background, but I was just doing other work. And a whole lot of it was they were not playing a lot of defense.
No.
So
Their game was a lot more like the All-Star games of past, the last 2 or 3 years, where there was no defense.
a lot of threes.
A lot of threes, a lot of
Which is boring.
alley-oops.
Like I know that guys like to shoot threes, but threes are boring to watch.
Exactly. I was going to say, playing a game, I would rather just sit outside the arc and just start shooting threes.
Right.
Watching a game, I want to see a pick and roll alley oop,
You're right.
someone fast breaking, a defensive stop. Like I know a lot of people are all about offense. I appreciate the defensive stops and the defensive struggles. Seeing someone locking someone in a corner, trapping, turnover, running the court, that's entertainment to me.
Yeah.
But then going to the All-Star, the Rising Stars MVP, Brogdon Bogdanovic from the I know I was gonna butcher that name. I was trying it for so long there, guys. He was on the Bucks, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure.
Brogdon?
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's Malcolm Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon. Always get those two guys mixed up too, as well.
He might be like either Indiana or like Sacramento or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
Who cares?
Doesn't really matter. This is the Rising Stars games to get them exposure in the league here. His stat line was actually quite amazing for a guy coming off the bench. Didn't make the starting lineup for the All-Star for the Rising Star game. He comes in with 21 minutes of game time. He threw down 26 points, 6 assists, 4 boards, while shooting a whopping 7 of 13 from behind the arc. I know he started the game when he came off the bench. He went 3 for 4, and that was just lights out. That's when you knew it was a game. Brogdon, I like to see it in the real regular season here, but knowing whatever team he's on, that must be a bright spot to know that your youngster is balling out.
I know there's a bit of hype around him at the beginning of the season as well too, but it's just like he hasn't really converted that hype into anything.
No, yeah.
So
it's hard.
hopefully this gives him a bit of confidence and maybe they'll run more plays for him and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's just the confidence factor of knowing that he can play in this league. Even though I know the people that he was playing with, it wasn't the All-Star game. It was the rookie All-Star game. But this is a good foresight for 7, 8, 9 years down the line. These could very well be the guys that are going to be making up the All-Star game going forward for the rest of their careers for sure.
Yeah.
In our generation. Another honorable mention to another stat line that was pretty absurd for the Rising Star game was Jaylen Brown for Team USA. He had a game high 35 points. Had a double-double with 10 boards. He only had the 1 assist though, but that's not really his game, being a 3-4 kind of guy. But shooting 3 for 8 from behind the arc as well. Watching Celtic basketball, you never really see Jaylen Brown shooting threes or shooting deep shots. Must have been good to see that from him for Brad Stevens and other people in the Celtics organization, knowing that he isn't only a slasher defender, but he can really put up the threes if needed. Good to see. Any other shout-outs you want to give out to that All-Star game?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think it was cool that at the end of the game you saw some other some of these young guys dunking, even though they weren't in the dunk contest. Kind of showed you like, hey, maybe you guys should have considered us. But other than that, it was
Actually, yeah, talking about those dunks there, actually, from Team USA, John Collins, he had a couple nasty alley-oops in that game. Didn't think he could fly like he could. I think he could very well be in the conversation for a dunk contest next year. I know he's a big man. Not a lot of people like to see big men in the dunk contest. I like it. He can fly. He has good awareness around the rim. He can catch alley-oops one-handed. We saw that a couple times in the game. Just putting on the radar. That's good to see from him. But moving on from Friday night's All-Star festivities there, moving on to my favorite day of the All-Star weekend. I know a lot of people like the Sunday game. That's beside the point. It's NBA All-Star Saturday night. That All-Star Saturday night, all the events that they do, always crowd-pleasing, very good competition as well. They had the Taco Bell skills contest, the JBL three-pointer or something like that, and then the dunk contest as well. Running it down for the winners there, we can start off with the skills contest there. The winner was Spencer Dinwiddie from the Brooklyn Nets. Yep. Surprised?
I'm not too surprised because like he's been like one of the most improved players of this year. So he can definitely ball out. But I mean he had good competition as well too.
He did.
So like I think anybody in that competition did have a fair chance in winning, and so it was cool that he got it.
I like the fact of bringing Brooklyn Nets some sort of notoriety from this whole All-Star weekend. They had no representatives in anything other than Spencer Dinwiddie in the skills contest, where he brought out the W. Good for him.
Speaking of which, I think the only team that didn't have representation was the Orlando Magic, because Aaron
Hmm.
Gordon
Pulled out.
pulled out
Oh,
of the
yeah.
dunk contest.
I don't know. There must have been another team. I'm going to have to think about that.
I think
because,
that's the only
Phoenix
one.
even had one. Minnesota had a couple.
Devin Booker, Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix, yeah. I was trying to think of all the bottom feeders. But the Sacramento Kings had Brogdon.
Buddy Hield.
With that. Buddy Hield was there as well. And DeAndre Fox made it as well as a replacement.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, no, that could very well be it. Orlando might have been the only team. But the Nets got a good W. That was good. And Spencer Dinwiddie in the regular season with D'Angelo Russell missing time, he really stepped up in the void
Yeah.
that D'Angelo was making there. Good for Spencer for getting some league-wide praise for being the skills competition. And me being a guard myself, finally a guard won the skills competition from these big giant tree centers and
Yeah.
forwards.
Yeah.
I can't lie, Lauri Markkanen gave him a run for his money at the end there. But I'm just glad that a guard finally won the skills competition. It should have been a guards competition the whole time.
I think
Um,
my favorite part in the skills competition was when Embiid was missing his passes,
Mm.
and then they realized that he was missing them intentionally, just dropping the ball, because if you can't hit the target, once you run out of the balls, you can just move on to
Exactly.
the
You
next.
get 3 attempts. After 3 attempts, then you get to move on for free. And in all honesty, Joel Embiid, that was a disqualification. That was cheating. He did 1 attempt, missed, picked up ball 2, missed, and he just dropped ball
Yeah.
3.
He played the game.
Hey, trust the process. Like
Yeah.
he knows how to get around those tricky situations. I don't know. I like the skills competition. One competition from Saturday night that I'm very upset that they took away. I don't even think it was there last year. It was the shooting skills competition,
Yeah.
or the shooting stars competition. I'm not sure if you guys remember from years past when they had one current NBA player, one NBA legend, one WNBA player, all from generally the same region. Like all Miami players would be together, all of like LA teams would be together with the Sparks for LA and stuff of that
Right.
nature. Going out there having not a 3-point competition, but shooting from 5 designated spots and then hitting the half court at the end.
Right.
I like that competition. I always thought that was one of the most competitive competitions out there. Plus, giving the exposure to the WNBA that really doesn't
Right.
get
Right.
much exposure at all. I think that's something that they should really bring back. Even though Chris Bosh was one of the best players in that competition, his team won it 2 or 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
My
My question is always,
like it.
how do they choose who gets to play in that competition?
That's, I think it's half volunteer, half like you got to do it. I don't know. That's a great question. But then, how do they pick anybody for anything, right? Like, how
Right.
does they pick Spencer Dinwiddie to do the skills competition when there were other Kemba Walker? I would have personally liked to see Kemba instead of Spencer Dinwiddie. Then again, they would try to pick the people that don't get all the praise already, just to give them
Right.
some praise. I don't know. I'm sure there would be a process to decide who would be doing that. I think they should definitely bring that contest back. Moving over to personally my favorite event. I know most people like the dunk contest as well. I do love the dunk contest, but my favorite event to watch is the 3-point shooting contest itself. With Devin Booker, one of my dark horse selections. Everyone has to go and watch the podcast about 2 weeks ago where we put our suggestions. I have it on record that Devin Booker was going to be a sleeper pick. And he just balled out, set up a record of 28 points out of the new 35 or 36 point format
Yeah.
that they can score out of. Love Devin Booker, like balled out of control. Any surprises on that one there for you?
I wasn't too surprised. Like, my pick was Klay Thompson. He
Mhm.
was runner up, so like I think it was pretty obvious there. It's more so like who's not gonna live up to expectations, really. And we have guys like Wayne Ellington and
Who-
Paul George. So
yeah, who didn't do well as well.
I remember seeing a meme about Kevin Hart doing the 3-point competition a few years ago, and he did better than Paul George did.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Probably did better than Kyle Lowry, too, because yet again, in another podcast, I was saying Kyle Lowry didn't
I'm not
expect him
even
to win.
surprised.
Didn't expect him to win.
I was surprised that he was
wanted-
even in the competition.
But That's what it is. If you're getting invited to the competition, at least get double digits. Like, I know you're an NBA player. I understand the way you like to shoot threes isn't the way that the competition is set up. You like to
Yeah.
catch and shoot.
But you have to
Still,
understand that going into the competition.
yes, practice. Maybe once. Like,
I think that's the thing. Like back in the day, when we had guys like Jamario Moon, those guys going up for the dunk competition, you would see videos of these guys actually training for
and
the
practicing.
competition. Yeah.
And Jason Capono, when he was with the Raptors there, when he was trying to retain his 3-point contest.
Yeah, they were doing drills and stuff like that to do it.
Honestly, Kyle Lowry, if you're going to be competing like that in the 3-point competition, I think it's just best for you to just to decline it next year. If they ask you again, just be like, hey, I did it twice. My combined score was like 12 from both years combined. I think I'm going to sit this one out.
Yeah, I don't think the athletes are taking these competitions as seriously anymore.
And they really shouldn't. I don't think they should be losing sleep over these 3-point competition.
Depending on who you are, like you have nothing better to do. Like Jason Capono.
Okay, fair. Jason Capono would be that, or Spencer Dinwiddie in the skills competition. Sure. But still, you shouldn't be losing sleep or taking practice time from actual game practices for this. But it's the competitive factor. You should be balling out of control and trying to show off. And if you just don't want to, then you got to decline it to have someone else that wants to go in there and do it.
Right.
Overall, I wasn't too surprised that Booker, Klay Thompson were the two finals. I'm surprised Eric Gordon had such a bad showing than he did.
Some people were saying it like, oh well, you can tell who stayed out last night.
Hey, I would be one of those partiers for sure. LA for the All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
You would be having the best time of your life, I'm sure. I don't know. 3-point competition, it's a little too fast-paced for me though. You only get one attempt and then it's pretty much over. I would like to see if they were able to do, I know it's impossible to have two guys shooting at the same time, maybe on opposite ends of the court, but to have a competition head-to-head, like a bracket like the skills competition have. 4 guys on one side, 4 guys on the other side, shooting, do a split screen thing. Right. Winner goes on to the next round. I think that would be a little bit more competitive instead of having everyone go. Because I know one complaint that I heard from Eric Gordon is that he shot last in the first round. They all have the same warm-up situation before the very first guy rolls.
He's cold by the end.
So he's cold by the time that the first 7 guys go.
Right.
And then he's last. I totally agree with him. Like, he warmed up for half an hour, however long the warm-up was, sits down for 30 to 40 minutes, gets up and has to hit and shoot 30 shots. That's not fair. Gotta try and find a way about that. I don't know. Leave it up to the brilliant minds of the NBA. But I don't know. Like the 3-point competition, it's one of the better competitions. But moving over to the highlight of the night, therefore, for most people, for sure, was the slam dunk competition. How did you feel before we get into the winner and best dunk and things of that nature? Overall, how was the dunk competition this year compared to recent memory?
Overall, I did like it, but there's 2 guys that weren't in the dunk competition that need to be in the dunk competition, and that's Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon.
Granted, totally agree. But then again, if it wasn't because of the circumstances, I almost 100% guarantee that they would have both been in it.
Yeah.
Zach LaVine's coming off that terrible ACL injury from last year, where he's just getting his feet under him now.
Right.
Aaron Gordon pulled up 2 weeks before the All-Star weekend with a hip injury or something of that nature. While the dunk contest was going, they did have Zach LaVine on the panel with Reggie Miller, Kevin Harlan, Chris Webber, and stuff like that. So he was putting his 2 cents into the dunk contest. And from what he was saying, you could tell he was itching to get out there. He was saying like, oh, I've been doing that dunk since I was in grade 8 or 9, and they were sort of joking, clowning with him.
Yeah.
But comments by like that, you can tell he wants to be out there. He's a competitor. He wants to compete.
Yeah.
And
he never won it, right? Or did he win it one year?
He won it one year and then got robbed by Aaron Gordon the next year. But then No, I think Aaron Gordon won it the first year, and then he robbed Aaron Gordon because when Aaron Gordon did the dunk when he put the ball under his butt
He wasn't
over
in
the
it last year.
mascot.
He was injured.
Oh,
So Aaron Gordon robbed him the first year,
okay.
and then he never got a
Then he
chance
never
at
won it.
redemption.
That could be
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't remember. Yeah, I actually don't remember. No, I do remember Zach LaVine winning one. That's gonna have to be Googled. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
we'll have to
Google
check
that.
on that.
But overall, my takeaway from this dunk contest is I liked it. I thought it was very well done by these four athletes. One thing that I didn't really like from years past was all the gimmicks
Yeah.
that people were doing inside of the dunk contest,
Yeah.
jumping over stuff like that. You didn't really see it that much this year. You did see the one gimmick when Larry Nance changed into his father's jersey, did the same dunk that his dad won the dunk contest,
Right.
won the first ever dunk contest with, which was quite amazing. You saw Victor Oladipo go and get the Black Panther mask from Chadwick Boseman there before his second attempt dunk as well. So that was all about it for gimmicks, and that's what I like. I like it just to be to the dunks. Like, wow us with your athletic abilities, which is what they did.
What was your favorite dunk of the night?
Favorite dunk of the night? That is very questionable. I am impartial to the Larry Nance double tap. When he threw it off the glass,
Yeah.
caught it, threw it off the glass again in
Yeah,
midair, and dunked it for the first 50 of the night. I love that dunk. I think that was dunk of the night. It's a shame that he didn't put it all out. But what was your dunk of the night?
That sounds so cheesy because I have to agree 100% with you.
That one? Because no, honestly,
It was
I
ridiculous.
think it's hands down that dunk has to be the dunk of the night.
Yeah.
Honorable mention to Donovan Mitchell throwing it off the second backboard, that
backboard,
was
yeah.
like 5 feet behind the first backboard, and he had to get enough power to come all the way back to the front of the first backboard.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. If it wasn't the very absolute first dunk of the night, that would have been a 50.
I think another thing as well too is that just to give a shout out to Donovan Mitchell, when he missed his dunks, he never attempted it a second time. That was another thing because when you see a failed dunk and you keep trying it over and over again, it kind of loses its impact.
Agreed.
And I think Donovan Mitchell used that to his advantage, and he
he
never
knew it.
repeated the same dunk twice.
Agreed. No, I totally agree with that. I liked it. So yeah, with Donovan Mitchell, I think he had the second dunk of the night with the backboard there. I love the Toronto Raptors reference that was
Right.
at the very end of that game,
Yo,
at the end of that contest.
Donovan Mitchell to Toronto Raptors confirmed. I've been saying it for a while.
Why? Why would he ever leave the Utah Jazz where he has the most cushy situation as of right now, being a rookie? But going back to the dunk where he puts on the throwback Vince Carter jersey
Yeah.
and then does his 360 windmill under the rim throwdown from the 2000 dunk contest. Granted, it wasn't nearly as clean as what Vince Carter did,
Yeah.
because Vince Carter can jump out of any building. Like, still at age 41, he would still outjump all of these guys. I liked it. I thought it was quite clean, not as clean as it could be.
Yeah.
I like the "it's over" reference at the end of it as well. I thought it was nice. Could have got a little bit more elevation on it. Then again, I don't think Donovan Mitchell is as big as Vince Carter is,
Right.
so it was a little bit more impressive. I thought it was nice. Other than that, the one letdown was Dennis Smith Jr. to me, I believe. Only had 2 dunks. Didn't really have any. I hoped he put his best dunk in that last second
Right.
attempt, which was still a nice dunk. I don't really remember what it was, but I remember the score was pretty nice. Dennis Smith Jr. Still, he can jump through the roof. Like, not a surprise at all.
What I wanted to mention outside of the dunk competition, though, there was videos of their practice dunks, and I showed you the
Yeah.
Instagram video. Some of those dunks were ridiculous.
Were crazy. I
Like,
remember
Larry Nance had another
double tap.
double tap situation. Oladipo, oh my goodness,
Oladipo. Granted, I'm glad he didn't do it in the actual contest because he couldn't actually do it.
Yeah.
Because in the video I saw that you sent me at the practice, it was a layup,
yeah.
but it was nasty. It was a double tap 360, was it not?
Yeah, he did a 360, tapped it off, and like grabbed it up.
And then
While
didn't get the elevation to throw it down, but he alley-ooped it to himself, tapped it off while in mid 360 spin, caught it and attempted to dunk it again.
Kind of, yeah.
I think if he completed that and if he did it in a contest, guaranteed 100. Like,
That would probably be the
50
best slam dunk
of all
competition
time.
dunk of all time. Like, if he could do that.
But then again, it's he didn't do it cleanly, so I don't think he could do it. But it was nice to see the attempt in practice. Overall, Donovan Mitchell did win the dunk contest. I honestly think it should have been Larry Nance Jr. His overall dunks were, I believe, were the best. He had the dunk of the night. He had the most memorable dunk by him and his dad because I saw the side by side.
Right.
They looked very similar. So he had the best side by side like looking dunk. He had the best dunk of the night. I think he could have. I think he could have and should have won that. If he didn't, I would like to see him in there next year with him, Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
That would be a nice foursome.
I think Donovan Mitchell mainly won it because his dunks were pretty clean. All of them were clean. But the thing about those was that we've seen a lot of those dunks before.
Yep.
Yeah.
He jumped over his sister and Kevin Hart's kid.
Yeah.
With the side of the backboard alley-oop.
He didn't need them to be ducking.
No, he did not need them to be dunking because all three of those guys are clearly under 5'5". Like, they're not big people.
He could have cleared them.
Yeah, he definitely could have cleared them. And if he didn't have them ducked down as low as they did, I think it would have been a 50.
Yes.
Granted, it was a clean dunk. That's what it was. And he comes with power, which is kind of surprising from such a little guy. He can throw it down.
He dunks hard.
That's what won him that contest, I believe. But that was a good wrap up on the dunk contest. I like the way that it's going. I think it's going to be good for years to come because it had a lot of young talent with Dennis Smith Jr. and Donovan Mitchell both being really good dunkers.
Yeah.
The future's going to be nice. But moving on to the actual mainstay on Sunday night's All-Star game with Team LeBron versus Team Steph. Before we even get to stat lines in the game itself, with the new format, did you find the game to be a little bit more competitive at the beginning and at the very end of the game?
I think it was more competitive throughout the entire game, to be honest. Like, people were actually trying to make stops. There was block shots, steals. I like
traps. I saw a trap.
Yeah.
They did a full court press at the end of the half.
Yeah.
A full court press in an All-Star game?
They did reviews.
Yes.
They did play reviews.
Like, they trapped in corners. They double teamed. When have you ever seen a full court trapping pressure in an All-Star? Never.
And not to mention the play review in the All-Star game is the All-Star game. If they're gonna at least make the call right.
That's the next thing. Like,
Come
you don't
on,
get your
it's the
All-Star
All-Star
refs. Like, at the All-Star game, like, who are these? Like, honestly,
my God.
I have to agree with you. The All-Star game, this format, hearing a couple interviews from other players, they like the format. They think it's really good. And it did keep the competitive level high throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
Rotations were short. Like, people didn't see the court during the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Just because they wanted to keep it tighter rotations and keep the people that were playing in the game.
Yeah.
Trapping in the corners at the end of the half, at the end of the game, like actual defensive plays being drawn up in the timeout. You actually saw a clip of LeBron James in the huddle like he was in the Cavaliers, yelling at his boys, guys, let's get this done. In an All-Star game when there is nothing on the line other than money to these guys that make millions of dollars every year, you get $100K if you win, opposed to
100K is still a lot of money.
Okay, $100K is a
They'll pay
ton
for
of money
4 fines.
to me. If you're Draymond Green, it would pay for one. I agree. $100K is a lot of money to the average Joe. If you're making $28 million a season, are you going to be mad about $100K?
I would be. That's the money off the table.
No, you would not be.
I would care.
That's tax. Like, after taxes and stuff, in the tax bracket that
Not
these
all
guys
of those
are.
players are getting max either.
True, but most of them are. I would say out of the 24 guys there, a solid 15 of them are getting max deals. 15 to 20 are getting max deals. So $100K, that's literally maybe a game check. It is a game check for these guys. So no, I don't care about the $100K. But just for bragging rights of making your own pickup team, I think that's what got them to play harder. knowing it's not just East and West, and if you're on the Eastern Conference, knowing you're gonna get slapped because the Eastern Conference is garbage. It's more of the you picked me, I'm gonna play for you, LeBron. You picked me, Steph, I'm gonna play for you, Steph. And like we all said, Team LeBron had the better team. To be honest with you, throughout the whole game, it didn't look that way.
Right.
But at the end of the game, they did pull out the win, 148 to 145, which that closeness of a game I attribute to this new format. They actually, not all-star basketball, they played basketball in the last 3 minutes with defensive plays, traps, running up and down the court, transitions. Yes, there was still your tons of your alley-oops, your three-pointers, your no defense at times.
Yeah.
I think overall, though, I love this format.
I liked
Great.
the connection between KD and Russell Westbrook.
Mm,
They didn't even seem like they had any tension
not at all.
together at all. Uh,
A lot of storylines that we thought would be coming up never really
yeah.
formalized.
Kyrie Irving and LeBron James played well together.
They did.
They made
They had
some
a couple
nice
of
plays together.
I was gonna say there was one play that they were doing a fast break where it went from Kyrie to LeBron for an alley oop, and I was
Yeah.
just like, "Whoa!" Just like old times, hey guys, like what's going on?
Yeah, yeah.
I
You know
don't
who
I
didn't
liked it.
show up though? Steph Curry.
You are just having any time to throw shade at Steph, you're all about it.
Shouldn't have been eating popcorn on the sidelines.
Man.
That's what I'm saying.
But then again, Steph, his team was just not well picked. I don't think he really looked into matchups, and he really left it up to Mike D'Antoni to figure that out for how do you guys want to match up with these guys that I picked.
Right.
It wasn't really good matchup.
Yeah.
Didn't really think it through.
He's not a GM.
Not like LeBron. Like LeBron's been GMing since his first stint in Cavaliers. But throwing out to the MVP of the All-Star game, no real surprises, especially because his name was on the front of the jersey. Team LeBron, they got the W. He got the All-Star MVP. He threw down 29 points, 10 boards, 8 assists. One of the better performances in the All-Star game that I can remember. It was really well done.
I think it was actually interesting, to be honest, because in a couple of years past, when they were looking at minute management in the All-Star games, one of the coaches was asking LeBron's like, how many minutes do you want to play? Right? And he played the most minutes out of
Yeah.
everybody on his team this year. So in the past, like he's like, oh, I want to play 28 minutes or something like that,
Yeah.
right? So he took it very seriously this year.
Which is good. And when your absolute best player in the world is taking something seriously, everyone else will follow suit. It's almost guaranteed that they would follow suit. One stat that I heard from this after the All-Star game that was quite amazing. There's only 2 people in NBA history to ever have 3 regular season MVPs, 3 NBA All-Star MVPs, and 3 NBA Final MVPs. 2 people in the history of the game. It's Michael Jordan and LeBron James now after he secured his 3rd NBA All-Star MVP. People are always talking about the GOAT debate, who's better, Michael, LeBron, Kobe, other people there. Hey, this is something that he has on his resume that Kobe does not have on his resume. If he matches the amount of championships that Michael or Kobe get, is he the new GOAT?
People are always gonna be like, well, look at those finals that he lost.
Yep. And people are always going to say, look at him crying, making a super team. You don't see Michael going and teaming up with Bird and Magic Johnson. You don't see Kobe going and teaming up with, well, Kobe teamed up with Shaq, but that was happenstance. That
was before Kobe was even big.
Exactly. That was just the Lakers organization getting lucky with a draft pick.
Right.
That happens all the time. He didn't have to get traded to make that super team. It just formulated over time where it happens.
Right.
I like to think that with this new stat on his resume that only 2 people in the history of the NBA can say that they've done. He's up there. Like 1 or 2 more titles, he's the GOAT to me.
Can he get those 2 titles?
That's the thing. I don't know. And
the question is, we're not even sure if he can make the finals this year.
that's the thing. Is he going to make the Eastern Conference Finals? Like his team's currently sitting in 3rd?
Yeah.
Hey, they're on the outside looking in from the final two in the East.
I think he could make the Eastern
Oh,
Conference
well,
Finals,
okay.
but
I don't doubt it at all. I think he's going to make the NBA Finals as well.
that's a question I don't know about, to be honest.
I think he would, but that's for another podcast for
Yeah,
sure. I like the All Star game there. Let's go to our Raptor representation there with Kyle and DeMar. Kyle Lowry let me down yet again on a Sunday night.
I think he had a lot of assists though. Like he
Yep.
didn't have points, but he had assists and rebounds.
And he had a couple steals. I saw him get a
Yeah.
couple force a couple turnovers as well. Still, like being the pit bull from Bay Street from the Raptors, it let me down. Um, One guy that never lets you down though is DeMar DeRozan. He came out and he balled out hard. I actually think he was top 2, 3 in points for that game.
I think if they
That was it.
won, he might have got MVP.
Yeah, maybe possible.
Yeah.
He was just on a bad team. From that, unfortunate. He balled out of control. He was like really one of the only bright spots on Team Steph for me to watch, other than James Harden jacking up like 12 3-pointers in a span of like 10 minutes. Um, I don't know. I like the 3-point contest. Our Raptors didn't represent as well as I thought they could have represented, but they balled out. Dwayne Casey said he wasn't going to make it easy on them. Definitely didn't make it easy on them. Actually, shout out to Dwayne Casey for winning the All Star game.
Yeah.
For being a coach. First time head coach of the All Star game, got a W.
But did he really coach?
Absolutely. Well, one.
He's got
I
the coach.
I think yes, because in that end of the first half, when they had those defensive full court
Yeah.
pressure, who knows defensive pressures more than Dwayne Casey?
Right.
That must have came out of his bag of tricks. So I think he did indeed win that game because they were down by 3 or 4 with a couple minutes left. They had another pressure that caused a couple turnovers. LeBron hit a corner 3, brought them right back into the game. So yes, I think Dwayne Casey and the Raptors coaching staff with Rex Kalamian, Jama Malalela, Jamal McGlure, everyone like that, they won that game. Yes, the players played it, but they strategized and they pulled it out.
Right. Love it.
So do I. But overall, as we're wrapping up the All-Star game conversation here, overall the whole weekend, Friday to Sunday, pro or con, good or bad? How did you feel the whole weekend left you?
I enjoyed it. I liked it better than last year, to be honest.
Me too.
So I want to see it keep going. Hopefully they do the live draft next
Yep.
year. The interesting thing would be that they would do it on the Sunday, so we wouldn't even know until the day before what the teams are. So
I don't know if they can do that because they still make money off of the All-Star game practice that
Right.
they do Sunday morning. That
but
do
they say
practice.
they're gonna do the pick right before the practice, and
Right.
then they just
And then
practice
practice it?
right away.
Oh, that would be pretty interesting to see. I'd like to see that.
It'd be interesting.
I think as a whole, this weekend was an absolute success. Nothing bad came out of it. All the games and competitions were good.
It might change things in terms of injuries as well too.
True.
'Cause, like,
True. No more Team LeBron curse.
yeah.
I don't know. I liked it, and the whole overall weekend was a good weekend, and we were missing a lot of big names. Like, could you imagine if Boogie Cousins was there?
Right.
Kristaps Porzingis played out. John Wall, if he didn't miss time. Like,
Yeah.
these guys are entertaining to watch. I'd love watching the Unicorn play ball.
Yeah.
Like, he is so deadly on so many different facets of basketball. I love it. As
I
a
would have
whole, I
loved
the
to
weekend.
watch LeBron play with DeMarcus, man. Like I'm really disappointed that we didn't get to see that.
Yeah, that would have been grown man moves. Like,
And John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins,
like
the Kentucky boys.
yeah, going back.
Oh,
See, I
man.
think they would have been really good if all of their star power was actually able to play that game.
Yeah.
But moving on from the All Star game, I'm pretty sure we beat that dog pretty well down. Moving over to our Raptors in the Eastern Conference race that they have there, just bringing in some Toronto news into this podcast here. I know that we are currently sitting first in the East with the best home record, everything of that nature, with our bench being as dominant as they have been before the All-Star weekend here. There have been ongoing discussions and debates on, are the Raptors for real? Is this just regular season highs and then falling off in the playoffs? Is this actual be afraid of the Raptors when it comes to playoffs?
Hmm.
Well, how do you feel about the Raptors have been showing before the All-Star break?
I think right now, at least based on how the way Boston's playing, I legitimately think the Raptors are a top tier Eastern team. And I don't think that the Boston Celtics are in that top two.
No. I agree to an extent. Yes, I believe that the Raptors are a top tier team, so the top four in the conference for sure, hands down, no question about it.
Yeah.
Um, the Celtics, I think they started off super hot, got a little bit cool, but I think they are going to find their stride going into playoffs. Never count on Brad Stevens. He
Hmm.
got his college team up to ball for the Final Four and stuff when they never thought they were going to go that far. The Butler Bulldogs. Same with Kyrie Irving. His competitive edge would just be absolutely disgusting at that time of year. And there is still rumors that Gordon Hayward might come back for playoffs.
That would be insane, man.
If they can get Gordon Hayward back, keep Kyrie interested and engaged in the season, and with the young talent that they have with Brown, Tatum, and things of that nature, their team could very well be all around good. They have missed Marcus Smart for an extended period of time, who is their defensive backbone.
Hmm.
So yeah, I am still very afraid of the Boston Celtics being a Raptor fan. Um, are they for real to be top, ending the regular season as a top on the Eastern Conference? Unfortunately, I do not see it happening. With the way that one Cavaliers are playing after their blow up in the middle of the season with their team,
Hmm.
they have came out and balled out of control. Boston, I think they're going to get better when they get healthy, as well as Washington. They are absolutely terrifying without John Wall. They are playing hungry basketball, team basketball, where everybody gets a touch,
Yeah.
which only benefits teams because if you look at the Raptors this season compared to last season where they played a lot of ISO ball, it doesn't get you anywhere playing ISO ball with John Wall just dribbling, creating, kicking out.
Right.
Everyone has to be engaged in order to be very good.
It's a very interesting transition of the point guard position
It
as well
is.
too, because like you can't even be measured as a point guard for assists anymore.
No.
Like you're no longer truly a playmaker. It's a your
Game.
team game. Like
It has to be.
yeah, it's
Because like when you have two guys that are going to score the ball all the time, teams focus in on that. When you have six players, I know that the Cavaliers and the Wizards played the other day on the Wednesday after the All Star break. They had six guys in double digits.
yeah,
That is terrifying because as a coach, if you're Tyronn Lue, who are you going to put your best defender on? You're going to put LeBron James on whoever you want. Okay, that's fine. But then that guy's not going to score. Then they have five other people that got double digits.
yeah,
There is no team that has five defensive super studs. It's impossible. You can't
yeah.
stop all five guys on the court at one time. There's always going to be a weak link. If all your offensive players can exploit that weak link, you won't lose. You won't lose. Question is when John comes back, what happens to the game plan?
Right.
Are they going to resort back to what brought them to fourth or fifth in the East, or go back to what's brought them to be one of the best teams in the East in the last 10 games? I
And
don't know.
bringing it back to Cleveland as well too. We know that Cleveland has struggled and everything like that, but you have to keep in mind that even with their struggles, they're in the top three in the East. So once they actually do lock in, which it seems like they are,
With these new young, energetic players,
it's possible that they could take over the top of the East.
that's what
Even
I'm
though,
afraid of as well.
like, I don't even think LeBron cares about that because,
No.
like, as long as he makes it into the playoffs, he knows he has a chance at the title. So,
'Cause to that point, I think you're totally correct with LeBron James not really caring. Because in the last 8 years, he's been number one out of the Eastern Conference at the end
right.
of the regular season. Doesn't mean he has 8 championship rings.
Well, Boston was first last year, right?
Oh,
So,
that's true.
like, I don't think he cares too much. He's rather gonna be maintaining his body
Yeah.
than trying to fight for that
For the
first
regular
place.
season championship.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that, it means
It doesn't
nothing.
matter to him.
It means nothing. He's been number one multiple years, and he doesn't. every time he was number one, he didn't win a championship.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Get me to the big dance.
He
I'll
knows
play.
he knows he can beat everyone on the East.
Exactly.
So
If you make it to the playoffs, every team, it doesn't matter if you're first or eighth, you have to win 16 games.
yeah.
If you don't win the 16 games, it doesn't matter if you won 82 games in the regular season. If you can't win those 16,
Doesn't matter if
You're
you're
out.
73-9.
hey, firsthand, LeBron James knows that on the good side, firsthand.
Doesn't matter if you have 3-1.
That's all that. Like, it just matters on the last shot. You have to get into that big dance. So as a whole, yes, I think the Raptors are a contender to be top in the East. I don't think it's gonna happen though. Like honestly, with the way that the Wizards are playing,
Yeah.
Celtics might get it together. The Cavaliers are coming up. Even the lesser teams like the Milwaukee Bucks are getting it together.
Philly.
Philly is still balling out of control. There are still good teams. The Heat are still a very scrappy team in playoffs when it comes to that. So it's like, yeah, even if we finish first, the eighth seed is going to terrify me. we will run into either Miami, Washington,
Philly.
or Philly. But Washington's going to be top four. But like that's
Milwaukee.
it's not good. Yeah, it's going to be probably Milwaukee, Philly, or Miami. And those three teams are absolutely terrifying.
they're
Or
tough teams.
Indiana. Or the
Yeah,
Pacers
yeah.
with Victor. That's going to be terrifying as well. I don't know.
Detroit.
It'll be good. Well, no, Detroit's not going to be anywhere near there. Not anywhere near there. I love Blake Griffin. No, sorry, not. We can move on there to one of the fights that, because I know this podcast loves little disagreements, arguments, and then
You're like
and the
drama.
aggressive stuff on the court. There was an incident last night with inside of the Los Angeles Lakers and Dallas Mavericks game, where Isaiah Thomas lost a shoe in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
Yogi Ferrell, another small guy, goes over to inbound the ball and kicks his shoe away.
Small man syndrome.
Kicks his shoe away. Of course, Isaiah Thomas is going to take exception to that. Gets a little bit chippy, pushing and shoving. Not pushing and shoving, but a little bit in their face.
I think IT handled it pretty calmly.
He did. He handled it very calmly because the only one that got a technical was Yogi in that end of that situation. I don't believe there was a double technical, not to my knowledge.
I'm not sure. I'm surprised that the next guy in, JJ Barea, didn't get a technical.
That was the next thing. Like, and another guy with the short man syndrome comes in trying to be a tough guy, and they were sort of double teaming Isaiah Thomas, where he kept his cool, and nothing bad happened. You guys definitely have to go and check out that YouTube clip. It is quite funny what I saw. It was so unnecessary, Yogi. Like, they were waiting to get Isaiah to get his shoe before the game was going to start anyways. So why would you kick the shoe away? They're going to wait for him anyways.
Right.
It's like, you're not getting an advantage from that. You're just looking like a dick.
So the thing with this is that, as much as I feel like Isaiah Thomas is a bit overrated, I feel so bad for the guy, you know? Like, nothing has gone right for this guy at all. And he's this little guy that's like has so much heart.
Yep.
He has this major chip on his shoulder that he has to carry everywhere he goes, and he's just getting disrespected left and right. It's like, how much more can he take of this? Like, does he even enjoy the game anymore? Right?
I would enjoy the check that I would be getting from him if I was him. But I see where you're coming from. It's the name of the business. Like,
You think that after everything you've gone through with the sister and everything like that like the players around the league would give you a bit of respect, you know?
But then again, it's the fact of I think they do give him respect, and that's the reason why they do these gamemanship type of things, because it's not a secret. Isaiah Thomas is a super fiery competitor, and what do you do with a competitor? You compete and you try and get under his skin to get him off his game. Kicking his shoe, what's that going to get? That's going to get him pissed. What happens when he gets pissed? He jacks up not smart shots,
Right.
undeserved shots. So
It's a mental thing.
It is, and he's very a temperamental player. Yes, he can go either way. If he gets ticked off, he can just ball out of control.
Yeah.
Or he would be able to just get off his game, shoot terrible shots, not play defense like he normally doesn't do. So I think it was not the fact of lack of respect. I think it was more of, I'm going to get under his skin. That's the way I took it there. It was still a dick move, Yogi.
Yeah.
Like, it was not
And
necessary.
JJ.
And JJ, well, I don't even know why JJ was even getting himself in that situation.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously.
where you, what are you good to do? Um, I don't know. I think it was quite funny. But staying on the topic of the Dallas Mavericks, there was one big news about their owner, their outspoken owner, Mark Cuban, getting fined a whopping $600,000.
600,000. That is crazy.
Yet again, to a guy that's like a multi-million, like almost a billionaire. Like, he has to be a billionaire.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is a billionaire.
600,000, like that's my
That's a
kids'
lot of
allowance.
that's a lot of money still.
To us, it is.
I
I
think-
agree.
I think if you're wealthy, it doesn't matter how much money it is. Money is money at
That's
the end
true.
of the day.
Hey, that's how wealthy people stay wealthy.
Yes.
Not by giving out tons of money
Yes.
all willy-nilly. I agree.
That's half of Team LeBron's salary for the All-Star game.
Hey, but then again, okay, so let's get into the reason why he got fined $600,000. So he was very outspoken publicly about his team should be planning on tanking for the rest of the season in order to get draft picks for the upcoming NBA draft.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, before we even get into the public side of it, how do you feel about teams just tanking in general, even if they keep it behind closed doors? Pro or con?
I think it's I like my 76ers. But I think it's a con because at the end of the day though, who are the people that want to tank? It's management and ownership.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a player, you're not going to want to tank no matter what.
No.
Because at the end of the day, you're playing for your paycheck.
Yep.
And if you're tanking, other people are seeing that you're tanking, you're not putting the effort, you're not going to get a check on payday.
That's
So
true.
you're gonna
or free
want to play.
agency. You won't be
Yeah.
getting that max deal because they're like, well, you tanked the last
Right.
2 seasons. No, I agree with you. Outside of public eye, behind closed doors where it's not going to get out, I'm pro tanking. Like, don't make it public. Don't make it obvious.
Yeah.
Don't be.
You got to do it like the 76ers, like
Yeah.
injury out for the season.
And if you have a hangnail or if your finger's a little bit swollen, you set out 2 games where you would only miss a quarter. You set out a couple games. I understand stuff like that. I don't like it because coming from a Raptor fan where Vince Carter did that to us, I
Yeah.
don't like it. I understand where it's coming from as a management point of view. Being a player, if you asked me to tank, I would spit in your face because I would never ever do that.
Yeah.
If I'm an owner like Mark Cuban, yeah, I'm gonna lose our franchise player Dirk Nowitzki, if not this year, next year. He is going to retire.
Yeah.
We have a very young, inexperienced team. We don't have the free agency marketability to bring in a big name to Dallas. So he only really has the option of developing his team through the draft or through trades when no one's really making trades. Well, one is after the trade deadline, but no one was really taking trades because they really have nothing to give up
Right.
other than like Dennis Smith Jr., who you do not sell because he is your new future. Yes, I agree with Mark Cuban. You have to tank. Do I agree by the way that he did it? Hell no. You don't go on a podcast and go, my team should tank. We're going to start tanking now. Because that takes away from the game.
Here's the thing about the podcast though. This is one of the reasons why I like the Road Tripping podcast so much, is because they promote talking as if they're not talking to the media.
Yeah.
So it's like, say what you really feel,
Yeah.
right? And that can get you in trouble.
Case in point, $600,000 out the pocket of Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
But like I agree with him. They do have to tank to get a couple draft picks and then just make it work because it's guaranteed they're not making playoffs this year. It's pretty much guaranteed they're not making playoffs next year.
The tough thing too, though, is that as much as we say that teams are stacked and everything right now, I feel like the league is a lot more talented as well.
Yes, the whole
So-
player pool is more talented.
So the draft isn't as impactful as it used to be because you can't just be like, I drafted this one guy and he's gonna
change the
carry
team.
me. Like, there's no more LeBron James type drafts,
Yeah,
or
that's
like
true.
even with Yao Ming, he like changed the whole
The whole
face of
yeah,
Houston.
that's true.
Nobody can do that anymore.
No.
Like you have to draft multiple people. Like
Yeah,
look at
it's
the
a team.
76ers, right? Even with the Cavaliers, they had Tristan Thompson, they had Kyrie Irving, they had
Anthony
Anthony
Bennett.
Bennett. They had a bunch of first round picks. Andrew Wiggins. They still couldn't make it to the playoffs,
No, it's true.
right?
So no, I totally agree. It isn't just about the one draft pick anymore. I know there's a lot of buzz around Trey Young as of right now coming out of college. He is going to be an NBA All-Star. He is going to be a superstar. I can't see him coming into a team, being a rookie, and changing the makeup of the team. The only one in recent history that has actually been close is Donovan Mitchell right now to the Utah Jazz.
Yes.
The first rookie of all time to have his team in a double-digit win streak and lead his team in scoring. Never happened before.
Yeah.
Like even with LeBron James, who's generational, the best player of this generation. Kobe Bryant never did stuff like that. So you are right to an extent. You can't find a Kobe Bryant to change over your team, or a LeBron James, even a Dwayne Wade or a Carmelo Anthony changed over their respective teams when they got drafted.
And even Kobe didn't average 20 points in his first season.
No.
At least LeBron did, right?
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it's like
It's I agree to tank for draft picks, but you can't base everything on draft
Yeah.
picks because they are work in progress. You need a handful of high draft picks to even make a team run. Look at the Boston Celtics. They've had a handful of high draft picks in the last 3-4 years, ever since they made that deal with Brooklyn Nets.
right.
It has paid off dividends because they've had the handful of picks. If they had one, it probably wouldn't have gone as far as what they have gotten as of right now.
Yeah. And like Lonzo Ball is not turning the
No,
Lakers around.
no, not single hand. Like Brandon Ingram, they thought he was gonna be. He was number 2 overall. He can't turn the team around by himself. You had Julius Randle, who's also a high draft pick in the first round. Well, not high in the first round, but a first rounder.
He's a lottery pick.
Yep. Didn't turn around the team. Like it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. Even with the Golden State Warriors, like they had a lot of players. Like Steph Curry was drafted, Draymond Green was drafted, Klay Thompson was drafted by the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, it took multiple years.
And it took multiple years, and it took them all to be together for at least one season to even turn the team around to what it is now.
Mhm.
So I agree with tanking. You can't put all your eggs in the basket and saying we're just going to tank and not look at other avenues of obtaining talent. I think the $600,000 fine was right on the head. If anything, they should have lost a draft pick, like a low second round draft pick.
That's brutal, though.
But because you were I don't want to say cheating because that's very like a big word, but you were cheating the system to get a better draft pick.
But he's just saying that he feels like he should. It's not like you can prove that they were gonna do it.
Mark Cuban has
you can't-
such influence on that organization. If he says we should tank,
Yeah.
they are going to tank.
But I think it's like you can't
You
punish
can't
the
prove it.
team for it. Like you got to punish the guy who said it. It's
Yes,
kind of like the whole Magic Johnson getting fined for
for
like
the Durant.
yeah, or
comment.
like Giannis,
Yeah,
things like that, tampering.
I agree, but when the person that says it has so much power over the team, you have to penalize. It's his team. It's not like it was a general manager. If it was a general manager, I understand because
Yeah, yeah.
they don't have as much. They have a lot of control. Don't get me wrong. Or if it was like an equipment manager that says something like that, of course you can't hurt the team because they're nothing.
Yeah.
But like a coach, if a coach says it, you should hurt the team. Manager says it, you should hurt the team. If the owner says it, you should hurt the team. Like if players say it, no, because they have their own agenda. Like that's fine. Equipment managers and like trainers and stuff, whatever.
Yeah, you're not gonna have impact.
Yeah, you're nobodies. But if you are from the three head, the owner, manager, coach, you have a lot of control over your team. Whatever you say, however detrimental it is, your team might very well do it. I think the $600,000 fine was nice. It was right on par.
Well, Mark Cuban said he deserved it. So.
Yeah, because why would you go in public and say it? Say it behind closed doors. Have a meeting with Rick Carlisle and be like, hey, have you thought about tanking? I think we should.
Sometimes it's hard, man. You get caught in a moment.
That's
talking
true.
to Dr. J.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. Hey, you get a drink or two in you, having a podcast, think you're having a conversation with a friend, and it goes too far. I don't know. The Dallas Mavericks will rebound from this. Mark Cuban is not going to go broke because of that one fine.
Right.
Mavericks aren't going to become good because of this situation. It's whatever. But going on to one of our last topics of the day, a lot of ironic type injuries that happened in the last 2 days, especially.
Yeah.
Of course, one of the injuries was absolutely devastating to Jimmy Butler, and another one to Tyreek Evans. Do you want to go into the irony behind those two type of injuries there, Dan?
Yeah. So the interesting part is, let's start with Tyreek Evans.
Yes.
He was kept out of games by the Memphis
Management.
Grizzlies
Yep.
because they're looking to shop him.
Before the trade
Yeah,
deadline.
they didn't want to get him injured or anything like that. Blah blah blah. The trade deadline comes back. He's cleared to play, and he gets injured.
Like
In
I
the
think
middle
it's
of the
his
game.
second game back
Yeah.
from the benching, he hurts himself.
So it was just a collision on the court. Somebody runs into him. Maybe his elbow or something hits
Yep.
him in the ribs. He kind of just keels over, and
And
Out for
then
the
he was
game.
going, yeah, and he never came back. We don't know the extent to that injury,
yeah.
but how ironic was that? Or was that just like seeing the future, knowing something was going to happen, and trying to be proactive and keeping him out to keep his trade
Like a
value
foreshadowing.
high, and trying to get value from him, to just to be like, okay, trade deadline goes by, nobody wants him, let's use our asset again, and then the second game into it, he gets hurt. Like, what? That's you can't even rate that. That's
Hopefully it's nothing serious because my team has him.
your fantasy guru now.
My-
It's getting rejected.
Oh my
You
goodness!
have to give
man.
that title back up now.
My fantasy team is suffering.
Yeah. So it's quite ironic about that whole situation on Tyreek Evans. Hope for the
Situation
best.
with Butler,
Honestly,
similar.
very similar, because there actually was rumors that Tom Thibodeau actually went to Mike D'Antoni and asked for him not to play. Oh, maybe not Butler. It was not D'Antoni. Jimmy Butler was on Team LeBron as a replacement, was he not?
I think so.
I think so. So Tom Thibodeau went to the coach on the All-Star game that Jimmy Butler was on, asking him to not play his men, Karl Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler, extensive minutes, thinking of the regular season still that is coming. So looking through the stat sheet, Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns didn't play extensive minutes in the All-Star game. The saddest part is the very first game after the All-Star game that the Minnesota Timberwolves are a part of, Jimmy Butler has a devastating knee injury. To be honest, during the gameplay, I was watching the clips there. It didn't look to be super gruesome, the injury itself.
Right.
The reaction from Jimmy Butler was kind of gruesome though, because it looked like he was in
just
some
fell
pain.
over. Yeah.
How ironic was that though, that a coach asks another coach, don't play my guys in the All-Star game too much. I want to save them and not get them injured, to go back to the regular season, to be in their regular gameplay and get an injury.
So the thing here is, like, the injury that he got, it's a meniscus tear or something like that.
We're waiting for the MRI.
So they came back.
It came back?
Yeah, so it came back. So the options here are basically there is a way to recover non-surgically, and there is a way to cover surgically.
Of course.
And they're just deciding which to do.
What's the
on that.
time frame on both?
So I don't know, man. I hope it's not something that's gonna keep him out too long. Like,
No.
playoffs are right around the corner,
And Minnesota's one of those teams that is very entertaining to watch. Like,
and they've relied on Jimmy Butler a lot.
Yep.
Like, they have Jeff Teague running a lot of the offense. He's getting a lot of assists, but the ball does go through
Jimmy
Butler.
Jimmy is the facilitator. Yes, Jeff Teague is the playmaker, but he makes plays for Butler to play off of.
Yes.
So the ball still goes through Jimmy's hands quite often.
And Jimmy is well known for being the type of player who does the small things. Like,
Yeah.
he does whatever he needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna hurt the Timberwolves
A
quite
lot.
a bit.
But oddly enough, talking about the Timberwolves and knee injuries, there has been speculation that Tom Thibodeau is very aggressive and very hard on his players. He wants the absolute most and all that a player can give at all times on the court, every single time. Going through Tom Thibodeau's track record of players who've had extensive knee injuries,
D Rose.
it's actually kind of scary. Derrick Rose, knee injury. Joakim Noah, knee injury. Jimmy Butler, knee injury. Zach LaVine, knee injury. He was a Timberwolf when he got that injury and
Right.
was traded to the Bulls with still
Right.
injury. Those are 4 extensive ACL, meniscus, MCL type injuries. Derrick Rose twice, mind you. From superstar franchise players getting significant knee injuries while under the coaching of Tom Thibodeau. Of course, you can't say it's Tom Thibodeau's fault. Like, injuries happen. They happen.
Tom Thibodeau curse.
I've never seen one coach have a similar type injuries on so many different players who are franchise type players. Hey, people are talking about the LeBron James curse. People are talking about now about the Tom Thibodeau curse. Do you buy into that? Do you read anything into it?
I don't know. You make a really good point, and makes me start thinking too.
Yeah,
It's like maybe you're right because like you can see Tom Thibodeau's passion on the court.
Yeah.
Like that guy's practically
Yelling.
doesn't even have a voice anymore.
No, he's always standing up. He's always yelling at somebody.
Yeah.
He's
So-
always micromanaging something. I don't know. It gives me something to think about. I can't see how it would be his fault. Like, I'm sure every coach in the league wants the
It
absolute
could
most.
be indirect.
Indirect
causation.
It could be practice. It could be drills that they do. Or I have absolutely no idea. I just saw a tweet that was out there on Twitter, and it actually made me think. I was like, never really thought of that. I was trying to think of other injuries that happened under the same coaches.
Right.
1, maybe 2 significant injuries under one coach for different players. I don't know. I thought it was something to think about. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's
don't
really
know.
interesting.
But that was about the injuries there. Another big injury conversation is to Kawhi Leonard. I know we were talking about it in podcast past, but there have been new updates about the situation there. So it has came out that he could very well return before the end of the season. But
He's been cleared to return.
He's been cleared to return.
medically.
But now it's the question of Kawhi is, do I want to come back to this team? I don't know how to take that. Like, there is a clear butting head of him and Pop, the coach of the San Antonio Spurs,
And the GM.
and the GM. Like, everyone, there is disconnect in that whole organization. This is the first time in decades that the Spurs have had disconnect inside of that locker room.
Right.
They are the epitome of excellence. They are to my own recollection here and to my own point of view, they are the best sports franchise in sports. Like basketball, hockey, football. Like, they are the best franchise in the last decade to 2 decades.
Right.
To see turmoil in the Spurs organization, I don't know how to take it. Like, is Kawhi, 1, going to come back to the Spurs this season? And B, will he come back to the Spurs at all? Do we see the end of Kawhi Leonard in the Spurs jersey?
This is a really interesting situation because, like, looking at the star players that the Spurs have had in the past, like, 20 years, most of them have been drafted and developed by the Spurs organization. You've seen players leave the Spurs organization and become really great players outside of it as well because they've been in that environment. This is the first time we've seen something crazy like this, and it makes me question, like, what is the situation? Kawhi doesn't seem like a guy that has issues with people. He just doesn't talk.
That's what it is. I don't know what it is. I think it's the fact that he doesn't talk, so owners and management doesn't really know what's going on with him. So when doctors say you're good to go, they're expecting him to go, but he doesn't want to. So it's like, why? What's going on? I don't know. I love me some Kawhi Leonard. Like, he is a force on the defensive end. He's a force on the offensive end. He would be an extreme benefit to whatever team he lands on. I hope they can make it work, though.
He would be a huge benefit to my fantasy team if he ever played.
Everything goes back to your fantasy team there, Dan. I don't know.
Taking up a roster spot. Jeez.
Just drop him. Well, I don't know if you can.
I don't know if I can either.
No.
But
it's the I don't know. I wish the best for Kawhi Leonard. He does help the game a lot, especially with that matchup against LeBron James. He is one of the few people I would feel comfortable going one-on-one against with LeBron James, like in
So
the ISO ball.
here's another stat that I was reading recently as well too. It was I forget who it was, but they're throwing shade at Kawhi, and how people are like giving him so much credit about being a lockdown defender and things like that. And the year that he even won an MVP with the
Mm.
Spurs, Finals MVP. And then the statistic was something about like, can you really call Kawhi Leonard a lockdown defender when your main job is to lock down and stop LeBron? But he still averaged like 30 points on you.
But yes, you can because LeBron James is going to average 30 points on every single person in the entire goddamn world. Like,
But can you really call that a lockdown though?
because,
And he's shooting still over 50%.
okay, yes, because if you're looking at solely the matchup with him and LeBron James, then no, I agree. You wouldn't be able to call him a lockdown defender. But in that for that situation, is there any lockdown defenders in the entire league then? If they can't match up to Kevin Durant and LeBron James, that automatically makes him not a lockdown defender.
Well, I feel like there are guys out there that were able to stop LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Like one of the guys that gave LeBron James tremendous trouble was Luol Deng.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, Even with the Pacers, Paul George
Yeah, they had
gave
a battle.
LeBron James huge trouble. Like LeBron James wasn't able to hit shots efficiently at all.
I still credit, like, yes, don't get me wrong, Luol Deng and Paul George are still lockdown defenders. I still I see where you're coming from, but it's still the fact of LeBron James is going to be a monster. It doesn't matter who is on him.
Yeah,
Yes, Paul George and Luol Deng stopped him odd games here and there. Overall in the whole series, who won the series?
right.
LeBron James. So yes, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron had better numbers against Kawhi Leonard. Who won the series? The Spurs. Um so yes, maybe they didn't lock down LeBron James as well as that other people have done, but then the reason why they lost the series is because the other four people on the court got shots to go down.
Yeah,
Where
kind
that
of.
just didn't happen against the Spurs. So yes, I still credit Kawhi being a lockdown defender. I'd like to see what happens when he comes back from this injury, if he can still move laterally, because it's a quad injury, is it not, or a calf injury?
It was originally the ankle injury from Zaza,
Mm-hmm.
which developed into
Oh,
the
it was the
quad
playoffs.
injury.
Yeah. So I don't know. I still wish the best for Kawhi. I would still call him a lockdown defender. I hope he comes back this season, not for your fantasy team or anything of that nature, just for basketball spectators alike. I like watching Kawhi. I like the Spurs organization. Um,
With my team being so hurt, I need him.
I wonder. I
He's
wonder.
bad.
I wonder if the word tank was passed around the Spurs organization.
I don't.
No.
I don't know, man. Like, it's
They're
interesting
still in
though
the playoff
because
hunt.
I don't really see the Spurs creating a franchise around a player like LaMarcus Aldridge.
No.
Like
Definitely
he
not.
definitely seemed like a guy that was supposed to support or add an accent
Yep.
to Kawhi Leonard,
Leonard.
right? So it's like
And
it's
the Agent
interesting.
Tony and the Manu.
Yeah,
No, I agree. I think if Kawhi does leave, they're going to be in the first, in my lifetime, of a rebuild for the Spurs. First time ever,
Yeah.
for sure. I don't know. Like to see where it goes. If anyone can do it, it's gonna be Pop. But like Pop's in his 19th or 20th season with the Spurs.
Mhm.
Is he gonna move on?
I don't know
Like, if the Spurs are going through
if
a
they're
rebuild,
gonna rebuild. That's a
I'm
good
done.
question.
I'm done.
Yeah.
If I was Pop, I'd
Might
be
as well
like,
hang it
I'm
up.
gonna retire. Like, I've given you 20 years. I've given them what, 4, 5
Five
titles?
championships.
5 titles? I've given you way more than whatever you could give me, Spurs. Like, I'm done. I don't know. It would be a sad chapter to go off of for sure if that's the way he goes out. It would be a shame.
That's all you have
Yeah.
on your thing, right?
Mhm.
I have one thing that I wanna.
My agenda.
One thing that I forgot to mention earlier, but the Raptors and coming up, we have a deadline for free agency signings.
Mm,
Uh,
buyouts and stuff.
Buyouts and free agency signings. So, a couple of things that we I wanted to talk about here is that I think this has already been thrown out the window, but a lot of people, even us before in
Mhm.
past podcasts, were speculating of Vince Carter return. So it doesn't seem like that's ever gonna happen. At least not in this year.
No, I think the Kings already came out and said that they want him to finish the season.
Yeah, well, the Kings originally said like they'll do whatever Vince wants to do because they're gonna respect him. He's been in the league for 20 years.
Yeah.
If he wants to be bought out, they'll buy him out.
Yeah.
So that's not happening anymore. The Raptors even said like they don't really need Vince Carter. Right now, they're probably their best window of opportunity they've ever had. So adding Vince is not going to be adding value to the team.
No.
But there is a guy that is trying to make it back to the NBA. Formerly a Raptor, formerly Miami Heat champion, two-time champion.
Oh, I heard this. Did not think this was going to be brought up on this podcast here, guys. But, okay, yeah, no, take it for the shit. Finish your thought.
Chris Bosh
Is not coming back. Like, uh, yes, there have been speculations that he says that he does want to come back to the NBA. He's still saying he has been training to come back to the NBA. I don't know how extensive those training is. I don't know even know if he's been cleared medically to play with that artery clogging, blood clot, whatever he has.
Right.
If he does come back and play, would he benefit the Raptors organization?
Would he benefit them? I think he would.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you have to realize he was our franchise player for a
Yes.
limited time.
Yep.
He went to the Miami Heat.
Got a couple championships.
He got a couple champions. Not only did he get a couple championships, he learned from the experience.
True.
He learned how to play a smaller role.
True.
Off the ball, and yeah, I think he's got a lot to teach the young guys, and I think he could replace Serge Ibaka in the starting lineup.
Extensively, like I don't.
He's a better shooter. I would
Yeah.
argue he's a better defender.
Okay, when we're saying he is,
Or
I think that's
He was.
the word I'm going to have to say. He was a better shooter. He was a better defender.
Yeah.
No, I can't say a better defender. I can't say that. Definitely a better shooter. Heck, yes, a better shooter than Serge. Can't say a better defender. I've heard there is turmoil between Serge Ibaka and people in the locker room in the Raptors organization.
I could see that.
Especially like in the last game against the Milwaukee Bucks, it was like we were down by like 6 points with 4 minutes left. He jacked up a super unnecessary three. You can see just the absolute fury in DeMar DeRozan's eyes when he put that shot up. So I can see them being a little bit of butting heads. I don't see. Then again, I haven't seen Chris Bosh play any meaningful basketball in in the last 2 seasons.
Three seasons? Yeah, three
Something.
seasons.
It's been a long time. I would like to see a practice tape just to see if he still has got his game.
I think even if he's cleared medically by the NBA, the teams also have to be okay with him playing as well too.
I think because I'm sure some team has to have his right still.
I think his contract's up. That's why.
Is it?
Yeah,
He's like a free agent.
He had a 6-year contract with Miami,
Mm-hmm.
and
They played 4
that
years
was done
together.
already. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So technically, he's not on the books for anybody. I think he has a lot because I think he can be a leader. He can be a
Yep.
vocal leader.
Yep.
And DeMar DeRozan is not a vocal leader. He's
No.
a lead by example.
Yep.
And I would rather listen to Chris Bosh than Kyle Lowry.
Fair. Yeah. Hey, how many rings you got, Kyle?
Yeah.
0. How many rings you got, Chris? 2. But they were all LeBron. But like, hey, I
Yeah.
got 2.
Like, I mean, if you were to sign Chris Bosh or Vince Carter, I would go Chris Bosh easily. But imagine if we had DeMar DeRozan, Chris Bosh, and Vince Carter in Raptors uniforms.
That would be going back in the day. We did have that all in one team together.
Oh man,
Because I remember
that's nuts.
DeMar played 2 seasons. No, 1 season with Vince, and Chris played 3 seasons with Vince.
Something like that.
So they've all been on a roster together. That would be going back to childhood days. Like that would be kind of great to see.
But like 2 of them are well.
2 of them are over the prime. 2 of them are well past their prime. You can say it. They are over the hill. I don't know. I wish the best for Chris. Well, actually, not really. Of course, I don't hope he's sick or
Cavaliers
anything.
still have a roster spot open. I don't think Dan Gilbert would take the risk though.
Why not? If
'Cause-
LeBron tells him to take the risk, Dan Gilbert would do whatever the heck LeBron tells him to do.
I don't know about that, man. I
He
feel
would
like-
do whatever the hell. I think we should blow up the team, and the team blew up. Dan Gilbert will do whatever LeBron James tells him to do.
Oh man.
So no, good bring up there. I hope Chris can come back. I don't think he will come back because I don't know what his game skill set is going to be at right now.
Right.
Um,
Well, the funny thing is, I remember watching one of the interviews he had too,
mm,
and he's saying how he's watched how the league has changed since he's stopped
been gone.
playing, and he's like, "There's no defense. Like all it is people shooting threes and like
Fast
running
breaks.
out on the perimeter
Yeah.
to challenge shots." It's like I think I could do that.
Hey Chris,
So,
I'm sure you think you can do that now. The question is, can you do that consistently? Hey, I'd like to give him a shot. Like, if he is medically came back to the game and he's able to play, I would not be opposed to having a workout. Come work out with the Raptors there, Bosch. See what you got. See if we can make it work for you. See if we can get you one of those 10-day contract type things. See
I
where it
would
goes
love
from there.
that.
I like Chris Bosh. He was one of our franchise players. He does still hold a handful of our records and whatnot. I don't know. I'd like to see where he goes
Hmm.
if he comes back even.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for today.
Yeah, that's about
Um,
everything here for us.
just
Yeah,
a little, just a little
update.
precursor for you guys as well too. Next week we will not have an episode because I
Mhm.
will not be here. I'm on vacation.
Mm,
But
living the life.
I think we're gonna try to do it in a week and a half. I don't know if
Mhm.
we're gonna try to push the podcast to Thursdays, and we might get a third person on our podcast.
We'll keep you in the loop, guys.
We'll try it out. If it works out, it works out. But yeah, give us like a week and a half to 2 weeks. We'll be back with another episode.
Mhm.
As always, if you guys made it to the end, you
You
guys
guys,
the
the
real
real
MVP.
MVPs. All right,
Peace.
guys, don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, peace.